You're just a nobody. Emma, my son's fiancée, sneered at me across the dinner table, her laugh cutting like a knife. Everyone froze. Her mother, Sophia, smirked in approval. I sat there, gripping my fork, rage simmering beneath my calm exterior. They thought they knew me, old, irrelevant John Kelly. They were wrong. Soon, they'd find out. And when her mother Googles my name, their world will crumble. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The words hit like a slap. You're just a nobody. Emma's voice sliced through the chatter of the dinner table, her laugh sharp and cruel. The room froze. My fork hovered over the plate, mashed potatoes clinging to its tines. Across the polished oak table, Emma leaned back in her chair, her manicured nails glinting under the chandelier's glow. Her mother, Sophia, smirked, her lips curling like she'd just tasted something sweet. My son, Michael, stared at his plate, his shoulders hunched, silent. I sat there, John Kelly, 62 years old, feeling the weight of their eyes. Rage simmered beneath my calm exterior, a slow burn in my chest. My knuckles whitened around the fork, but I didn't flinch. Not yet. The dining room, with its crystal glasses and flickering candles, had been warm moments ago. Now, it felt like a stage, and I was the fool in the spotlight. Emma tilted her head, her blonde curls catching the light. What's it like, John? Sitting in your little house, reliving your glory days? Her tone dripped with mockery, each word a needle. I mean, Michael told me you used to wear those old suits to work. What were you, a clerk? Sophia chuckled, tapping her wine glass with a lacquered nail. Oh, Emma, be kind. Not everyone can keep up with the times. Some people fade. Her eyes flicked to me, cold and appraising, like I was a piece of furniture she'd decided to discard. Michael shifted in his seat, his fork scraping the plate. He didn't look up. My chest tightened. I wanted to reach across the table, grab his shoulder, make him see me. But his silence cut deeper than Emma's words. My own son, letting this happen. I set the fork down, the clink loud in the stillness. Every eye was on me, Emma's triumphant, Sophia's smug, Michael's averted. The candles cast long shadows across the tablecloth, dancing like ghosts of the life I'd built. They thought they knew me, old, irrelevant John Kelly, a relic to be pitied. They were wrong. Emma, I said, my voice low, steady. You think you know me? I leaned forward, just enough to catch her gaze. Her smile faltered, just for a second. But you don't. The room held its breath. Sophia raised an eyebrow, but I didn't look at her. My eyes stayed on Emma, on the flicker of uncertainty in her green eyes. I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping the hardwood floor. Excuse me, I said, standing. My hands were steady, but my heart pounded like a war drum. I walked out of the dining room, their whispers trailing behind me like smoke. The hallway was dim, the air cooler. My steps slowed as I passed the family portrait hanging on the wall, me, Elizabeth, and Michael, smiling in a world that no longer existed. Elizabeth's eyes seemed to follow me, her warmth a ghost in the frame. I stopped, my fingers brushing the glass. Emma's laugh echoed in my mind, sharp and mocking. They'd find out soon enough. When Sophia Googled my name, their world would crumble. But first, I needed to remind myself who I was. I turned toward my study, the door creaking as I pushed it open. The night was just beginning. The study door clicked shut behind me, muffling the distant clink of dishes from the dining room. I stood in the quiet, the air heavy with the scent of old books and polished wood. My desk loomed in a corner, a sturdy oak relic from a life that felt like someone else's. On it sat the family photo, Elizabeth's smile frozen in time, Michael's small hand in mine. I crossed the room, my shoes soft on the worn rug, and picked up the frame. My thumb traced the edge, the glass cool under my touch. The memory hit like a wave. It was 1997, and I was 34, striding through the glass doors of an investment bank in downtown Chicago. The office buzzed, phones ringing, papers shuffling, the hum of ambition. My desk was buried under reports, a coffee mug teetering on the edge. My boss, Harold, leaned against the doorframe, his tie loosened. "Kelly, you're in line for VP," he said, tossing a folder onto my desk. "Big accounts, corner office. You want it?" I'd wanted it. God, I'd wanted it. But Elizabeth's cough had worsened that week, her face pale against the hospital pillows. I saw her in my mind, her hands squeezing mine, her voice soft, "We'll be okay, John." I looked at Harold, my throat tight. "I need to be home," I said. He blinked, then nodded, disappointment flickering in his eyes. I left the folder unopened. The memory shifted. It was 2004 now, our kitchen small and cluttered, the fridge humming in the corner. Michael was 16, all lanky limbs and quiet rebellion. I sat at the table, writing a check for his private school tuition, my fingers cramped from overtime at a job that paid half what I'd earned before. The pen scratched the paper, each zero a promise. Michael breezed through, grabbing an apple. "Thanks, Dad," he mumbled, already halfway out the door. He didn't see the stack of bills beside me, didn't know I'd turned down a better job to stay close. Another flash, 2012. Michael's college graduation, the auditorium packed with proud families. I sat alone in the back, my suit a size too big, my hands folded in my lap. On stage, Michael gripped his diploma, grinning. "I want to thank my friends," he said into the mic, his voice echoing. "You got me here." The crowd clapped. I waited, my chest tight, but my name never came. I clapped too, my hands heavy, my smile a mask. Back in the study, I set the photo down, my breath uneven. I'd given everything, my career, my dreams, my pride, for them. And now? Emma's voice rang in my ears, "You're just a nobody." Michael's silence stung worse. I'd become invisible, a shadow in my own life. I sank into the chair, the leather creaking under me. My eyes fell on the desk drawer, half open, a corner of my old address book peeking out. I pulled it free, the leather cover worn soft, the pages yellowed. It smelled of time, of deals closed and promises kept. This book held names, people who'd once called me a force, a man who could move mountains. I hadn't opened it in years. My fingers traced the names, each one a thread to a past I'd buried. I wasn't that man anymore, or was I? Emma and Sophia thought they could bury me with their words, but they didn't know the weight I'd carried, the strength it took to let go of glory for love. I flipped a page, then another, my pulse quickening. There, Frank Sullivan. A name that could change everything. I stopped, my thumb pressing the paper. A smile tugged at my lips, small but real. The rage from the dining room was still there, but now it had focus. I closed the book, the sound sharp in the quiet. Standing, I slipped it into my pocket and headed for the door. The phone was in the living room, and I had a call to make. The living room was dim, the torchlight casting a soft glow across the old couch. I stood by the coffee table, the address book heavy in my hand, its leather warm from my grip. The phone sat on the side table, a black cordless relic that hadn't rung in weeks. My thumb hovered over the buttons, the numbers from Frank Sullivan's page burned into my mind. Emma's sneer echoed in my head, "You're just a nobody," and my jaw tightened. I wasn't that man. Not anymore. I dialed, each beep loud in the quiet. My heart thudded, a mix of fear and fire. What if Frank didn't remember me? What if he did, but laughed? The line clicked, and a gruff voice answered. "Sullivan." "Frank," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "It's John Kelly." A pause, then a low chuckle. "John Kelly, as I live and breathe. Been a minute, hasn't it? Too long." I forced a smile, though he couldn't see it. I need to talk. In person. You free tomorrow? Another pause, longer this time. What's this about, John? His tone shifted, curious, like he sensed the weight behind my words. Let's just say I'm calling in an old favor. I glanced at the address book, open to his name. You still at the club? Yeah. Noon work? His voice had an edge now, like he knew this wasn't just a catch-up. Noon's perfect. I kept it short, my fingers tightening on the phone. See you then. Looking forward to it, Kelly. The line went dead. I set the phone down, my breath slow and deliberate. The room felt smaller, the air charged. I crossed to the window, the curtains half drawn, and looked out at the street. The neighborhood was quiet, the lawns manicured, the houses glowing with lives I'd never know. My reflection stared back, eyes sharp in the glass. For the first time in years, I recognized myself. A memory flickered, 1995, a sleek Chicago restaurant, all dark wood and clinking glasses. I was 32, my suit crisp, my handshake firm. Across the table, a client leaned forward, his pen poised over a contract. You drive a hard bargain, Kelly, he said, but his smile was respectful. I'd closed the deal in 20 minutes, the waiters nodding as I passed. That man, confident, unstoppable, felt close again, his pulse beating in my veins. I turned from the window, the address book still in my hand. Emma and Sophia thought they'd broken me, but they'd only woken me up. Michael's silence hurt, but I'd show him who his father was. I wouldn't lose him to their poison. I slipped the book into my pocket, its weight like a key to a door I'd locked long ago. Tomorrow, Frank would open that door, and I'd walk through. I didn't know what he'd tell me, about Sophia's secrets, Emma's games, or something else entirely, but it was a start. I grabbed my coat from the rack, the fabric soft and familiar. The night air would clear my head. I stepped outside, locking the door behind me. The stars were bright overhead, sharp against the black, like they were watching. I climbed into my car, the engine humming to life. Frank was waiting, and I was ready. The stars were still sharp overhead as I pulled into the parking lot of the golf club, their light a faint promise in the spring dusk. I cut the engine, my hand lingering on the keys. The address book rested in my jacket pocket, its weight a reminder of the man I used to be. I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my shoes, and adjusted my tie. The club's glass doors gleamed ahead, reflecting the manicured greens and the elite who glided across them. This was their world, Sophia's, Emma's. But today, I was stepping into it. Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and expensive cigars. The bar was tucked in a corner, its marble counter catching the afternoon sun. Frank Sullivan sat at a high-top table, his gray hair thinning but his eyes as sharp as I remembered. He raised a glass of bourbon in greeting, his smile half-cocked. John Kelly, he said as I approached, his voice gravelly. Didn't think I'd see you here again. I slid onto the stool across from him, my fingers brushing the address book through my jacket. Times change, I said, keeping my tone light. The bartender polished a glass nearby, his ears perked. I leaned in closer. I need your help, Frank. He swirled his drink, ice clinking. Figured as much. What's got you crawling out of retirement? His eyes flicked over me, sizing me up like we were back in the 90s, closing deals over steak dinners. I lowered my voice. Sophia Wilson. Emma, too. They're involved with my son. The words tasted bitter. Emma's sneer, "You're just a nobody," flashed in my mind, and my jaw tightened. Frank's brow lifted, but he didn't interrupt. I went on. They think they can walk over me. I need to know what I'm dealing with. He leaned back, glancing around the bar. A couple in golf whites laughed at the counter, oblivious. Frank's voice dropped. Sophia's living on borrowed time, John. That big house. Second mortgage, maxed out. She's been dodging creditors for months. He sipped his bourbon, eyes locked on mine. As for Emma, she's hunting. Your boy's trust fund is her ticket to the good life. My pulse quickened, but I kept my face still. Sophia's smug smile at the dinner table flickered in my memory, her manicured nails tapping her wine glass. Broke. Desperate. And Emma, clinging to Michael like a vulture. I felt a spark of something, anger, yes, but also clarity. They weren't untouchable. How bad is it? I asked, my voice low. Sophia's debt. Frank chuckled, but there was no humor in it. Bad enough that one wrong move could sink her. She's banking on Emma's marriage to bail her out. He paused, his fingers drumming the table. You sure you want to play this game, Kelly? It's not the old days. I met his gaze, my hand slipping into my pocket to touch the address book. I'm sure. He studied me, then nodded. All right. But you didn't hear this from me. He slid a business card across the table, the edge catching the sunlight. Call this guy. He's got details, bank records, the works. Discreet. I picked up the card, its surface smooth under my thumb. A key, maybe, to unlocking their facade. I pulled out my pen and jotted a note in the address book, the scratch of ink loud in my ears. The light from the bar's windows glinted off the glass table, sharp and clear, like my thoughts. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was moving. Thanks, Frank, I said, pocketing the card. I owe you. He waved a hand, his smile wry. Just don't get yourself in too deep. He drained his glass and stood, clapping my shoulder. Good seeing you, John. I watched him go, his silhouette blending into the crowd of tailored suits and clinking glasses. My chest felt lighter, but my mind raced. Sophia's debts. Emma's greed. Pieces of a puzzle I could use. But Michael, would he see through them, or turn away from me? The thought stung, but I pushed it down. One step at a time. I stood, the address book a steady weight against my heart. Outside, the air was cool, the stars fading into the afternoon haze. I slid into my car, the business card in my hand. Its edges were crisp, promising answers. I turned it over, my eyes narrowing. The game was on, and I was ready to play. The study was quiet, the desk lamp casting a warm pool of light across my laptop. The business card from Frank lay beside it, its corners sharp, a key to the door I was about to open. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking, and stared at the screen. The cursor blinked in an empty document, waiting. Emma's voice echoed in my mind, "You're just a nobody," and a slow smile spread across my face. Not tonight. I started typing, the keys clicking softly. A formal invitation to a charity auction, addressed to Sophia Wilson. The words flowed easily, esteemed guest, honor of your presence, keynote address. I chose each phrase carefully, crafting a trap she couldn't resist. Sophia, with her puffed-up pride, would leap at the chance to shine in front of Chicago's elite. But I knew what Frank had told me, her accounts were dry, her facade a house of cards. One public promise, one failed payment, and the whispers would start. My fingers paused, hovering over the keyboard. I pictured Sophia opening the envelope, her eyes lighting up at the embossed letterhead I'd mocked up. She'd preen, maybe call Emma to brag. "This is my moment," she'd say, her voice dripping with self-importance. But when the auctioneer called for her pledge, her card would fail. The crowd would murmur, their eyes sharp with judgment. Her perfect mask would crack. I leaned forward, my pulse quickening. The plan was simple but brutal. Sophia's humiliation would ripple, shaking Emma's confidence, maybe even her grip on Michael. But a pang hit me, Michael. What if he blamed me? What if this pushed him further away? I gripped the edge of the desk, my knuckles pale. No. I couldn't stop now. They'd mocked me, dismissed me. I'd show them who John Kelly was. I hit print, the machine humming to life. The paper slid out, crisp and clean, no signature, no trace. I folded it carefully, sliding it into an envelope I'd bought that morning, plain, unremarkable. My pen scratched her address, each letter deliberate. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, like a grenade with the pin half pulled. I stood, the chair scraping the floor, and glanced at the clock. Just past 6. The postbox was a short walk, and I wanted this done tonight. I slipped the envelope into my coat pocket and opened the study door. It creaked, a low groan that felt like the house itself was waking up. The hallway was dim, the family photo on the wall catching the light. Elizabeth's smile steadied me. This was for her, too, for the life we'd built, the sacrifices they'd trampled. Outside, the air was crisp, the streetlights buzzing faintly. The postbox stood at the corner, its blue bulk solid in the dusk. I walked quickly, my breath fogging in the March chill. The envelope pressed against my chest, a secret I was about to unleash. I reached the box, my hand on the handle, and paused. In my mind, I saw Sophia again, her face paling as she opened the letter, her fingers trembling. "Emma," she'd say, her voice bright with pride, "they've chosen me." She had no idea. I pulled the handle, the slot yawning open. The envelope dropped with a soft thud. Done. A rush hit me, part thrill, part guilt. I'd crossed a line, and there was no going back. Headlights swept the street, and I stepped into the shadows. A car slowed, Emma's sleek BMW, unmistakable. My heart jumped. Had she seen me? The car rolled past, her silhouette vague through the tinted windows. I exhaled, my hands clenching. She hadn't stopped. But the sight of her, so close, lit a fire in me. This was just the beginning. I turned back toward the house, the night closing in. The game was moving, and I was no longer the prey. The banquet hall's glow spilled onto the sidewalk as I approached, the red carpet leading to glass doors that reflected the city's skyline. Emma's BMW pulled up just ahead, its engine purring before it parked. I adjusted my tie and slipped inside, keeping to the shadows near the entrance. The air was thick with perfume and the clink of champagne flutes, the crowd a sea of sequins and tailored suits. I stayed by a column, my eyes scanning for Sophia. The trap was set, and I was here to watch it spring. The hall was a spectacle, crystal chandeliers casting prisms on the walls, a string quartet humming in the corner. Sophia stood on a raised platform, her emerald gown catching the light as she smiled at the podium. Her voice carried, polished and proud. "This cause means so much to me," she said, her hands gesturing grandly. "I'm thrilled to pledge $50,000 tonight." The crowd clapped, but I saw the auctioneer's assistant frown, her tablet glowing as she tapped the screen. My pulse quickened. I leaned against the column, my fingers brushing the address book in my pocket. The assistant whispered to the auctioneer, who stepped forward, his smile tight. "Mrs. Wilson," he said, his voice amplified, "there seems to be an issue with your payment." Sophia froze, her hand mid-gesture. The room stilled, the quartet's notes fading. "An issue?" she repeated, her laugh brittle. "That's impossible. Try it again." The auctioneer glanced at his assistant, who shook her head. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The transaction was declined." His words hung in the air, sharp as a blade. Whispers rippled through the crowd, heads turning. Sophia's face flushed, her eyes darting to the sea of faces. "This is a mistake," she snapped, her voice cracking. "I'll handle it later." The auctioneer nodded, but the damage was done. Guests leaned toward each other, their murmurs growing. I caught fragments, overextended, living beyond her means. Sophia gripped the podium, her knuckles white, her smile a mask slipping fast. In the corner, Emma pulled Michael aside, her face twisted with fury. This is your fault, she hissed, her voice low but venomous. Your family's dragging us down. Michael's shoulders slumped, his hands raised in defense. Emma, I didn't, he started, but she cut him off, her heels clicking as she stormed toward Sophia. My chest tightened. Seeing Michael caught in her claws hurt, but Sophia's fall was sweeter. I'd done this, plotted, waited, struck. The letter had worked, luring her into a spotlight she couldn't afford. But the sight of Michael's bowed head gnawed at me. What if he hated me for this? I pushed the thought away, focusing on Sophia's unraveling. I edged toward the side doors, the wood cool under my palm. Part of me wanted to stay, to drink in every second of her humiliation, but I'd seen enough. The whispers would spread, her reputation fraying like cheap thread. Emma's panic was a bonus, her control slipping. This was just the first cut. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I slipped it out, the screen glowing with a text from Lisa, Elizabeth's old friend. John, we need to talk. Can you meet tomorrow? My thumb hovered over the reply. Lisa, sharp, loyal, always in the know. What did she have for me? I typed a quick yes, noon, and pocketed the phone. I pushed the door open, the night air cool against my face. The city hummed beyond, its lights bright and unforgiving. I walked to my car, the text from Lisa looping in my mind. Sophia's stumble was just the start, and Lisa's message felt like the next piece falling into place. The cafe's door chimed as I pushed it open, the scent of fresh coffee wrapping around me like a warm blanket. My phone was still in my hand, Lisa's message glowing on the screen, meet me at Rosie's, 11 a.m. I slipped it into my pocket, my eyes scanning the room. There she was, near the window, her auburn hair catching the morning light. Lisa waved, her smile soft but knowing, like she'd been waiting for this moment as long as I had. My chest tightened, hope, nostalgia, a flicker of the past. I crossed the hardwood floor, the creak of my shoes blending with the hum of conversation. The cafe was cozy, all wooden tables and mismatched mugs, sunlight streaming through tall windows. I slid into the chair across from Lisa, the warmth of the ceramic mug she'd ordered for me grounding my nerves. You look good, John, she said, her voice gentle, like she was testing the waters. Thanks, I said, my fingers curling around the mug. It's been a while. Elizabeth's laugh flashed in my mind, her hand on Lisa's shoulder during those long-ago summer barbecues. I pushed the memory down, focusing on Lisa's steady gaze. She leaned forward, her elbows on the table. I heard about the dinner, she said, her tone shifting, sharper now. Emma's little stunt. Calling you a nobody in your own home. Her lips pressed thin, and I saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire Elizabeth had when someone crossed her. I nodded, my jaw tight. She and Sophia think they've got me figured out. They're wrong. Lisa's smile returned, small but fierce. Good. Because I've got something you'll want to hear. She glanced around, her voice dropping. Emma's not just after Michael's money. She's tangled up with a guy, some lowlife who's been fleecing people for years. They're planning to use your son's trust fund to bankroll their scam. My breath caught, the mug suddenly heavy in my hands. Emma's sneer at the dinner table flashed back, her green eyes cold and calculating. I'd known she was greedy, but this? A con artist pulling her strings? My pulse quickened, anger mixing with a strange relief. This was leverage. Real leverage. How do you know? I asked, keeping my voice low. Lisa's eyes flicked to the window, then back to me. I've got friends who talk. People who see things. She paused, her fingers tapping the table. Elizabeth always said you were sharp, John. Said you could outsmart anyone. So, what's your move? I leaned back, the chair creaking. The cafe's warmth felt distant now, my mind racing. Emma's scam could ruin Michael, but if I played this right, it could ruin her instead. We set a trap, I said, the words forming as I spoke. Something she can't resist. A fake deal, maybe. Get her to show her hand. Lisa's eyes lit up. I like it. I can pose as a go-between, feed her a story about a big investor. She's greedy, she'll bite. She reached into her purse and pulled out a faded photo, sliding it across the table. Elizabeth and Lisa, laughing on a beach, their hair whipped by the wind. For luck, she said softly. And because she'd want us to do this. I touched the photo, my throat tight. Elizabeth's smile was a lifeline, a reminder of why I was fighting. She would, I said, my voice rough. I slipped the photo into my pocket, next to the address book. Who do we need to pull this off? Lisa's smile turned sly. I've got a name. Old contact of yours, actually. She handed me a napkin, her handwriting neat and precise. I glanced at it, keeping it angled from the other patrons. A name, but I didn't read it aloud. Not here. Perfect, I said, folding the napkin and tucking it away. The plan was taking shape, a web I'd weave around Emma. But Michael's face, his silence at the dinner, gnawed at me. What if he didn't see the truth? What if he chose her? I pushed the fear down, focusing on Lisa's steady gaze. We stood, the table wobbling slightly as we pushed our chairs back. Outside, the spring air was crisp, the street bustling with midday shoppers. As we stepped onto the sidewalk, something slipped from my pocket, a business card, yellowed with age, fluttering to the ground. I bent to pick it up, my fingers brushing the familiar name. A slow smile spread across my face. This was the key I needed. I sat in my study, the old business card between my fingers, its edges worn but the name still clear. My phone buzzed on the desk, Lisa's message lighting up the screen, in the office. She's here. My pulse jumped, a steady thrum in my chest. Emma was walking into the trap, and I was miles away, orchestrating it all. The address book lay open beside me, a reminder of the man who'd closed deals with a handshake. That man was back. I leaned back, the chair creaking, and pictured the scene Lisa had described. A sleek Chicago office, all glass walls and polished steel, the kind of place Emma would feel at home. Lisa, posing as an investor's assistant, would be offering her a deal too good to pass up, a high-stakes venture that needed connected partners. Emma, greedy and blind, would take the bait. My phone buzzed again. She's talking. Recording now. I exhaled, my fingers tightening on the card. Lisa was good, better than good. She'd play Emma like a fiddle, and every word would be caught on tape. I stood, pacing the study, the rug soft under my shoes. The air smelled of wood polish and time, the family photo on the desk watching me. Elizabeth's eyes seemed to urge me on. I imagined Emma in that office, her blonde curls perfect, her smile all charm. I know just the person, she'd say, tossing out the name of her con artist partner like it was a business card. She wouldn't suspect Lisa's hidden recorder, wouldn't see the net closing. The thought sent a thrill through me, but a shadow followed. Michael. If I sent him this recording, would he believe it? Or would he cling to Emma, shutting me out for good? My steps slowed, my hand brushing the address book. Elizabeth had always believed in me. I had to trust Michael would too. Another buzz. Got it. She named him, Vincent Cole. Sending you the file. My heart leaped. Vincent Cole, a name I could use, a thread to pull. I opened my laptop, the screen glowing in the dim room. The file arrived, a tiny audio clip that held Emma's downfall. I didn't play it, not yet. Instead, I pulled a blank envelope from the drawer and slipped a USB drive inside. No note, no signature. Michael would get it anonymously, delivered to his office tomorrow. I sealed the envelope, my hand steady but my mind racing. Emma's voice, her betrayal, would hit Michael like a freight train. But what then? Would he confront her, or bury it? I pushed the doubt away, focusing on the task. The USB felt like a key, unlocking the truth I'd been chasing. I slid the business card into the drawer, its job done for now. The address book stayed on the desk, a silent partner in this game. I grabbed my coat, the envelope tucked inside. The postbox was a quick drive, and I wanted this done before I lost my nerve. The hallway was quiet as I passed the family photo, Elizabeth's smile a steadying force. I opened the front door, the evening air cool against my face, and stepped outside. Headlights flashed down the street, and I froze. Sophia's car, unmistakable with its gleaming chrome, was parked outside Michael's house, 2 blocks away. My grip tightened on the envelope. What was she doing there? Was she rallying, trying to salvage her crumbling empire? The sight of her car was a spark, igniting a new wave of resolve. Emma was teetering, and Sophia was next. I climbed into my car, the engine humming to life. The envelope pressed against my chest, a promise I'd deliver. But Sophia's presence was a warning, time was running out, and the game was far from over. Sophia's car gleamed under the streetlight, its chrome bumper a stark contrast to the quiet of Michael's suburban street. I stood in the shadows, my breath shallow, the envelope with the USB still in my coat pocket. From inside Michael's house, raised voices spilled out, Sophia's, sharp and frantic, cutting through the evening air. My plan had hit her hard, and she was flailing. I edged closer, the grass damp under my shoes, and pressed myself against the hedge. The words were clear now, and they were about me. Inside Sophia's house, just hours earlier, the scene had been chaos. I pictured it vividly, piecing it together from the whispers I'd set in motion. She'd torn open a letter, its letterhead official, the words brutal, her debts, her missed payments, splashed across a local gossip column for all of Chicago's elite to see. Her hands would have shaken, the paper crumpling as she screamed into her phone, blaming everyone, her accountant, her lawyer, even Emma. But the truth was out, a wound I'd inflicted with a few well-placed calls and a leak to the right people. Her empire of appearances was crumbling. Now, in Michael's living room, she was lashing out. "It's your father," she shouted, her voice a jagged edge. "He's behind this, Michael. He's trying to ruin me." I peered through the window, the curtains half open. Sophia stood in the center of the room, her silk blouse wrinkled, her hair slipping from its perfect bun. Michael sat on the couch, his face tight, while Emma hovered near the doorway, her arms crossed. I held my breath, my heart pounding. Sophia's accusation was a wild swing, but it was dangerous. If Michael believed her, if he turned on me, everything could unravel. But I saw his eyes, narrowed, uncertain. He wasn't buying it, not yet. "Sophia, calm down," Michael said, his voice low but firm. "You don't know it was him." "Don't I?" she snapped, pacing like a caged animal. "He's bitter, Michael. Jealous of Emma, of us. He's a nobody who can't stand our success." Her words echoed Emma's from that dinner, and my jaw clenched. Nobody. The word was their weapon, but it was losing its edge. I shifted, my hand brushing the address book in my pocket. I'd orchestrated this, fed the press just enough to expose Sophia's lies without leaving a trace. The leak was clean, untraceable, but her panic was proof it had landed. She was unraveling, her status slipping through her fingers like sand. Emma stepped forward, her voice icy. "If it's John, he's smarter than I thought." Her eyes flicked to Michael, testing him. "But you'd know, wouldn't you? He's your father." Michael's head snapped up, his fists clenching. "Leave it, Emma." The tension in his voice sent a chill through me. He was caught between them, but his doubt in Sophia was a crack I could widen. Sophia whirled on me, though she didn't know I was there. "He's a vindictive old man," she spat. "You'll see, Michael. He'll drag you down with him." Her voice broke, and I saw it, fear. Not just of me, but of losing everything. Her status, her control, her daughter's future. She was bleeding out, and I barely lifted a finger. I stepped back, my shoes silent on the grass. I'd heard enough. Sophia's counterattack was desperate, but it was failing. Michael's silence, his doubt, was my victory. I turned toward the street, the envelope still in my pocket. The USB would reach him soon, and Emma would fall next. But Sophia's words lingered, a warning. She wasn't done fighting. I drove home, the night closing in, and parked in my driveway. The house was dark, the air heavy as I stepped inside. My study felt like a sanctuary, the desk lamp casting a soft glow. On a whim, I opened a closet and found it, Elizabeth's old laptop, its surface scuffed but familiar. I set it on the desk, my fingers tracing the keys she'd once touched. Something told me it held answers, pieces of the past I'd need for the fight ahead. I powered it on, the screen flickering to life. The study was hushed, the glow of Elizabeth's old laptop casting shadows on the walls. Its hum filled the silence, a faint reminder of her presence. I sat at the desk, my fingers hovering over the keys, the address book open beside me. The screen flickered, showing a folder labeled Family, her files, her memories. My chest tightened, but before I could open it, my phone buzzed. Lisa's name flashed. I answered, my voice low. What's happening? Sophia's losing it, Lisa said, her tone sharp with excitement. She's at home, digging through your past. Googling you like her life depends on it. A pause, then a soft laugh. She's about to find out who you really are. I leaned back, a slow smile spreading across my face. The image was vivid, Sophia, her perfect nails clicking frantically on her keyboard, her eyes wide as she uncovered the truth. I could almost see her, perched in her opulent office, the chandelier above her dimmed by her panic. My past, decades in the investment bank, deals that shaped Chicago's skyline, sacrifices for Elizabeth and Michael, was no secret to those who looked. But Sophia and Emma hadn't looked. They'd seen only a tired old man, a nobody. Now, the truth would hit like a tidal wave. I pictured her screen, articles about my early career, my name in bold next to million-dollar contracts. A profile in a local paper, praising my quiet charity work after I'd stepped away from the spotlight. A photo of me at a gala, Elizabeth on my arm, her smile brighter than the flashbulbs. Sophia's world, built on status and lies, would crumble as she realized her mistake. Thanks, Lisa, I said, my voice steady. Let me know how it lands. I hung up, my gaze drifting to the laptop. I clicked the family folder, revealing photos and letters, but my mind was on Sophia. I saw her now, her face paling as she scrolled, her coffee cup forgotten, spilling on her desk. She'd thought me irrelevant, a shadow to mock. Now, she'd see the man who'd outplayed her. Hours later, I stood in Michael's living room, the air thick with tension. The family photo from my house seemed to echo in the one on his mantel, us, years ago, smiling. Sophia and Emma stood before me, their faces strained. Michael lingered by the couch, his eyes flickering between us, a new weight in his gaze. Respect, maybe. I held the photo of Elizabeth Lisa had given me, its edges soft in my hand, her strength grounding me. Sophia stepped forward, her voice trembling. John, we didn't know, she said, her usual poise gone. Your career, your life, we misjudged you. I'm sorry. Her eyes begged, but they were hollow, grasping for control she'd lost. Emma nodded, her hands twisting a bracelet. I was wrong, John, she said, her voice small, forced. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we start over? I looked at them, their words thin as paper. Emma's sneer from the dinner table, you're just a nobody, rang in my ears. Sophia's smirk, her cruel dismissal, burned in my memory. They weren't sorry. They were scared, cornered by their own failures. I tightened my grip on the photo, Elizabeth's smile a shield. "You saw what you wanted to see," I said, my voice cold, cutting through their pleas. "You mocked me, humiliated me in my own home. Apologies don't erase that." Sophia flinched, her lips parting, but no words came. Emma's eyes darted to Michael, seeking rescue, but he stayed silent, his jaw tight. I saw it then, a shift in him, a dawning realization. He was seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time in years. My heart ached, but I stood firm, the address book in my pocket a quiet ally. "John, please," Sophia tried again, her voice cracking. "We can make this right." I shook my head, stepping toward the door. "It's too late for that." My eyes met Michael's, and for a moment, we held each other's gaze. There was pain there, but also something new, understanding. I turned, my hand on the doorknob, and walked out. Lisa was waiting by my car, her arms crossed, her smile soft but knowing. The evening air was cool, the streetlights buzzing faintly. "You did it, John," she said, her voice warm. "They're done. Now what?" I paused, the photo still in my hand, Elizabeth's presence steadying me. "Now," I said, "we talk about what's next." Lisa nodded, gesturing to her car. I followed, my steps lighter, the night opening before us like a new chapter. The park was quiet, the morning sun filtering through budding trees, casting dappled light on the path. I sat on a bench beside Lisa, a paper coffee cup warming my hands. The air smelled of fresh grass and spring. A world waking up. Lisa's presence was steady, her shoulder brushing mine as we talked, her voice a soft anchor after the storm. She'd been waiting by my car last night, her offer to talk pulling me here, to this moment of calm after the chaos. "Emma's gone," Lisa said, sipping her coffee. "She broke off the engagement this morning. Packed her things and left Michael's place." Her eyes met mine, a spark of triumph in them. "And Sophia? She's a ghost now. The country clubs blacklisted her, and her so-called friends won't return her calls." I nodded, the weight of it settling in. Sophia's empire, built on borrowed money and borrowed time, had collapsed. Emma's schemes, her con artist partner exposed, had crumbled under the truth I'd sent Michael on that USB. I'd won, but the victory was bittersweet. Michael's silence at the dinner table, his bowed head as Emma and Sophia tore into me, still stung. I wanted him back, not just his respect. Lisa set her cup down, her hand resting on the bench. "You're quiet," she said, her tone gentle. "What's on your mind?" I looked at the coffee, steam curling in the cool air. "Michael," I said. "I got their respect, Lisa, but I don't know if I've got him." My voice was rough, the fear I'd buried rising. "What if he can't forgive me for this?" She touched my arm, her fingers light but firm. "Give him time, John. He's seeing you now, really seeing you. That's a start." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Michael: "Dad, can we talk? At the house. Please." My heart jumped, hope and dread tangling in my chest. I showed Lisa the screen, and she smiled. "Go," she said. "He's ready." I drove to Michael's house, the streets familiar but heavy with memory. His front door was open when I arrived, the living room warm with morning light. A photo of us, me, Elizabeth, Michael as a boy, sat on the coffee table, its frame polished, like he'd been looking at it. He stood by the window, his shoulders tense, but his eyes met mine, clear and steady. "Dad," he said, his voice breaking. I was blind. "Emma, Sophia, they fed me lies, and I let them. But you," he stepped closer, his hands clenched. "You were always there, sacrificing everything. I didn't see it. I'm sorry." The words hit like a wave, washing away years of distance. I swallowed, my throat tight. I just wanted you to know who I am, Michael, I said. Not for apologies. For respect. He nodded, his eyes bright. I do. I see you now. He reached out, his hand gripping mine, strong and sure. For the first time in years, I felt my son, not the shadow of him. We sat, talking longer than we had in years. He told me about Emma's lies, Sophia's desperation, and I listened, the rift between us closing. When I left, the photo on the table seemed brighter, like it held a new promise. Later, I met Lisa at the park again. She handed me a small key, its metal cool in my palm. Elizabeth's old office, she said. I've been holding on to it. We could use it, for a charity project, in her name. What do you say? I turned the key over, its weight a new kind of key, unlocking a future I hadn't dared imagine. I say it's time to start over, I said, my voice firm. Lisa's smile was warm, her presence a comfort I hadn't known I needed. I drove home, the key in my pocket, my mind on Elizabeth. The cemetery wasn't far, and I felt her calling. I needed to tell her it was done, that we were whole again. The road stretched ahead, the morning bright, and I let myself breathe. The cemetery gate creaked as I pushed it open, the evening air soft with the scent of blooming lilacs. Elizabeth's grave was tucked beneath an oak, its leaves whispering in the breeze. I knelt, setting a bouquet of her favorite daisies against the headstone, their petals bright against the gray stone. The key to her old office was heavy in my pocket, a promise I'd carried here. I touched the headstone, the granite cool under my fingers, and let the words come. I did it, love, I said, my voice low, meant only for her. I showed them. Emma, Sophia, they're gone. Michael's back, and he sees me now. My throat tightened, but I smiled. You'd be proud, Elizabeth. I fought for us. The sunset painted the sky in hues of gold and pink. Its light softening the edges of the world. I sat back, the grass damp beneath me, and let the memories flood in. The dinner, Emma's cruel laugh, Sophia's smirk, they'd thought me nothing, a relic to discard. But I'd unraveled their lies, piece by piece. The USB I'd sent Michael, exposing Emma's con. The leak that bared Sophia's debts. Lisa's help, her sharp mind turning my plans into reality. It had been a war, and I'd won. Sophia was a pariah now, her name a whisper of scandal in the circles she'd once ruled. Emma, stripped of her charm and her engagement, had slunk away, her schemes in tatters. I didn't gloat, not aloud, but the justice of it settled deep, a quiet satisfaction. They'd underestimated me, and it had cost them everything. Michael's apology echoed in my mind, his hand gripping mine, his eyes clear with regret and respect. That moment, more than Sophia's fall or Emma's defeat, was my true victory. My son was mine again, not lost to their poison. And Lisa, her friendship, her fire, had given me something new, a purpose beyond the fight. The key in my pocket was proof, a charity in Elizabeth's name, a legacy we'd build together. I didn't know if Lisa and I would be more than friends, but her presence was enough, a light I hadn't expected. I stood, brushing dirt from my knees. We're starting over, I told Elizabeth, my voice steady. Me, Michael, Lisa. We'll make you proud. The wind stirred, carrying the scent of daisies, and I felt her, not in the stone but in the air, the light, the quiet strength I'd carried through this. I walked to the gate, the cemetery's iron doors looming ahead. They weren't a barrier but an opening, a threshold to something new. I paused, glancing back at her grave, the daisies glowing in the fading light. The fight was over, but life wasn't. There was work to do, plans with Lisa, bridges to rebuild with Michael, a future to shape. I slipped the key from my pocket, its metal catching the sunset's glow. It felt right, a piece of Elizabeth I'd carry forward. I stepped through the gate, my car waiting beyond, its engine a soft hum when I started it. The road stretched into the dusk, the horizon bright with possibility. I drove, the key in my hand, the world opened before me. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.